So in this video, I want to talk about the X Pro 3, and I've talked about the benefits and the joy of having it and how it's helped and inspired my photography no end. But in this video, I want to address how does it perform as a travel companion. So I'm currently in Bali. I've been traveling with the X Pro 3 now for 2 months, and as always, like I do in most of my videos, I want to give you 5 reasons, 5 benefits to why the X Pro 3 is a great little travel companion. Great to chuck in your bag, go on a day trip and take beautiful, wonderful photos with. So let's not waste any time, let's get into the first point. Now, before this trip, I made a massive decision to sell one of my cameras, and the camera I ended up selling was the XS20. And the other consideration I was thinking about getting rid of was the X Pro 3. I wanted to get rid of one of those cameras to free up a bit of money and to fund my trip. So like I said, I sold the XS20 and I stuck with the X Pro 3 and decided that was the camera I was going to bring with me. And one of the reasons that I made that choice is because this thing is built like a tank. It's weather resistant, it's got a titanium top and bottom, and it's scratch proof. I've got the Dura Black edition, which also makes it stunning to look at. I mean, you should never buy a camera because it's good looking, but if you were gonna, then I think this camera really sits at the top of my list. I think it's a beautiful thing. But we're getting off track. But having the WR in this camera, I do think for traveling is vital. If that's through dust or rain or anything that's going to disrupt, the sensor, get it dirty. This thing's built like a tank. Like I said, you can really just chuck this around and be a bit kind of rugged with it. And unlike the XS20, there is no WR in that system. And yeah, that was definitely a concern when making that choice. The second thing I've really loved when traveling with this camera is to shoot from the hip. I really like the flip down screen monitor in this camera. I've expressed this opinion before, but let's go through it again. It stops you from chimping. If you're unaware of what chimping is basically looking at every photo you take after you've taken it, and with this that means you have to keep flipping out the thing, which stops you doing that, so that disables you from chimping. But B is, like I said, shooting from the hip. I love the fact that you can hold this at your waist, flip down the monitor and essentially click it with your thumb, as you can see here. This has been such a fun and interesting way of shooting. It's almost like a medium format type film camera, almost looking down at the viewfinder in a different way. Gives you just a different vantage point, a different side of creativity to make shots. I really like this because like I've said, I'm a bit of an introvert when on the street, and this makes me less seen in public. I can be more discreet and just kind of ease my way into a shot without looking like I'm taking a photo. As soon as you bring a camera up to your face, you do seem to attract attention, and attention is something that I definitely try to avoid when trying to get candid photos on the streets. So traveling throughout Thailand, Vietnam has been excellent when getting and grabbing photos. The third thing that I love is pairing this camera with my TT Artisans 27mm. This little lens has literally lived on my X Pro 3. Every time I go out and shoot with the X Pro 3, that's the lens that lives on that camera. I love that focal length, I love the character, and I love the affordability. I've talked about this numerous times, but I like how it is just a budget lens. It's something that if it gets broken, lost, stolen, I can always replace. TT Artisans did send me this lens to review, but honestly I wouldn't bring it on a trip if I didn't think it was great. And like I said, have so much charisma to some of my photos. I don't want a perfect lens. I want it to have kind of faults, but it also is pretty darn sharp for a budget lens. The issue and problem that people are finding is the vignetting, and that can easily be solved in post if that's an issue. I kind of like it. Like I said, it gives character, and when I pair this with the X Pro 3, it becomes almost like a X100 series. And if you're someone who loves that style, that series, but you don't want to pay, you know, the stupid amounts of money or be on a waiting list, then this might be a way in for you, because this can really give you the same sort of setup and the same sort of feel. And guess what? If you're fed up with that focal length, you can easily interchange with a different lens. So the X Pro 3 for me is definitely a better setup. Like I said, I love the 27mm and it does stay on there all the time. Sometimes I chuck on my 56mm. That's not as much, but sometimes I don't always want to shoot with the same kind of focal length, and that's what I would argue with those X100 series, is that you don't always want to be shooting with the same focal length. Okay, the fourth reason is there are dual card slots. Now this is very small maybe for some people, you know, a big thing if you're an avid photographer, or you're shooting, you know, something that's important, something that you're never going to see again, something that you need reliability on. And to have that second card slot is a backup just in case. So although maybe not a big concern for many people, for me, I do like that assurance that I've got a backup. And again, another kind of con against the XS20, which doesn't have a second card slot. So having dual card slots and having that as, you know, having one as a backup is, you know, for me, essential. And so the last thing I love about this is the OVF. I've talked about this loads. I think this is one of the main reasons people buy this camera, is the OVF. It's got that rangefinder style. Feels like it's designed to be a film camera in a digital body. It's giving you that same experience to some degree. It's just that you can have, you know, if you want an unlimited amount of shots where film doesn't, and film is, you know, drastically overpriced at the moment, so you have to deal with that too. But as someone who predominantly shoots digital but loves the same, you know, I do love to shoot and have loved to shoot with film. I like that I can somewhat replicate it in this camera, and with the OVF that allows me to do that. And it also has that hybrid EVF. You can bring that up just to see what's coming out. I like to use the OVF particularly at night time. I spoke to the guy who I bought this off, and he had the same camera and suggested that when shooting in things like music venues, nightclubs, that kind of stuff, he would use the OVF just so he could actually see his subjects before taking them. This was a really a good bit of advice, and one that definitely is worth sharing. Sorry, it's really windy out here. So the OVF is a real delight, and something that you know, like I said, I think a lot of people are drawn towards when thinking or purchasing the X Pro 3. Now let's talk about the con in the room. Now it's not a deal breaker, but it bloody annoys me, and it is just the battery life. I do have to keep a power bank on me if I'm going out with this thing. It just will drain in no time at all, and I'm hoping that in the X Pro 4 we will see a better battery life. Something that I was really chuffed with in the XS20, and I'd like to see an update in the X Pro 4. It obviously will make the camera bigger, but it might make the grip bigger, which will be quite nice. If they can still keep it looking good and give us one of those bigger MPW235 batteries, that would be great. I really do get a bit pissed off with the fact that I have to keep charging it every so often. But it's a small gripe. It wasn't a deal breaker, obviously, because I chose this camera over the XS20. And don't get me wrong, there are many other cons, just like with any camera, but you have to weigh them up, and you have to find, you know, the good things that you like about something and use it to your benefit. There is no perfect camera out there. Maybe one day there will be, who knows? Maybe it'll be the X Pro 4. Anyway, if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm having a ball out here traveling. Like I said, I'm currently in Bali. Did I say that? I'm working very hard on the next zine. It's going to be a double header. That's going to be coming out very soon. I'm nearly done. It's a big one, this one. It's a lot more work going involved in this. But before that comes out, you can still buy all my zines, and they all are £1 each. But thank you to everyone who has bought one so far. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm going to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.